into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back. So Philip Ittner will be joining us in the next hour to talk about what's going on in Ukraine, and the U.S. is prepping another $1.7 billion package to go to Ukraine, and everybody, Marge and Matt Gaetz and Don Jr. and all the people who were like, but that Russian fake NRA money was going to be my re-election campaign cash. Damn it. That crowd, all the people who would have benefited from the Russian NRA cash that dried up and are still, they're livid about it. Those folks are, you'll see more and more. This has to end now, today. Okay, well, why? Because Russia's losing. Because they know. Because they can see it. And Russia is amassing supposedly a big bunch of people, bunch of soldiers for some big push of individuals, untrained, in some cases prisoners, most of them they're functional workers in the country that are going to run into a hail of bullets and missiles and artillery with nothing but a plywood AK-47 and body armor with pancake batter in it. I don't know what the heck. I don't care how many people they throw at this.
Sounds delicious.
This is not. It didn't work during the Braveheart times. This is not. Yeah. And by the way, Jordan Mills says in the chat room, has Phil heard about the report on nuclear weapons Putin received this week and how some don't even exist? A lot don't work and the generals fake the soldiers working there and collecting their pay. Yes, it's exactly what I've been saying this whole time. That look, again, if you're going to steal from a store, you work at the store and you realize while you're working at the counter that 10% of the items are 100% or 90% of what you sell. And 10% of the items never get bought, but they're always in stock and always have to get rotated through. You also know that the pieces of that product, the pasta, the cheese packet, the box, all have a price. People will buy each of those things separately for cash. And since the store never moves them and they always get thrown out and nobody even looks to see if they're in stock because we've stopped even putting them on the shelf. They just sit in the back under a tarp. What would you steal first? Would you steal from the till where the cameras are on you and the customers all the time and the cash is the thing that moves the most? Or would you steal the things that move through at 30 to 50% rate where somebody go, where'd all the Capri Suns go? You know what I mean? Where they're like, Capri Sun. I don't know. I'm just picking things at random that in my childhood moved like hotcakes, 10 in a stack and covered in syrup. But no, you would obviously steal the stuff that nobody thinks they're ever going to use until it's an emergency. And you're like, where the hell's my tire inflator pump? Where's my jumper cables, right? You would sell the jumper cables because we never use the jumper. They sit there covered in dust. This guy said, I'll give you $10 for the jumper cables. And I sold the jumper. How was I supposed to know? That's exactly what's happening. And you have to understand, they were selling parts off tanks. They were selling parts off airplanes. They were selling the tanks and airplanes themselves without permission from their uppers. So of course they're selling off every integral part of the nukes. And it isn't even the missile themselves, the computer systems that use them for targeting, and none of the people like Putin and his ilk are technologically savvy enough or have a strong enough ego where somebody else could tell them, yeah, this is really working, and they believe them, like to audit the auditors for themselves. Like, I got my tech guy, we're good. So if you guys are BSing me, he's gonna check your work, right? And by the way, that's called bureaucracy, and that's what the right laments about the deep state in the United States. That's what we have. We have layers of fail-safe just for this type of thing. Otherwise, just like anybody else. Our nukes would have been sold off in the mid-'70s to God knows who. That's what happened. It is what's like, of course, they're not ready to fly. They look like it to Putin. Somebody like brings a car wash crew down to one of the silos if he wants to do a tour. But there have always been two intrinsically wrong things with the idea that Russia's going to launch a nuclear attack. One is, does the stuff work at all? Which is a huge question, right?
Yeah.
And if you launch it and it blows up let's say your trigger mechanisms trigger as soon as they leave the silo instead of halfway through the sky, right? When they're on their way to their target. They're old and that's how they were designed. They're mechanically done so that, and somebody doesn't know to flip the switch. And it blows up in the thing, and then you have nuclear explosions all over your own country. That's a constant possibility that they have to understand. And you'd have to send teams of people that you trust to all of them who aren't on the take or undermining you if you're a paranoid lunatic like Vladimir Putin is. And you have to believe them when they come back and say, yeah, they're fine. What if the dude's forehead is sweating like in Total Recall and you're like, you know what I mean? So the other thing is in 1991 when they fell and there were, American business people all over the country running amok and getting involved in the oil and gas industry. And it was the Wild West and, all these commies have turned into bloody capitalists. It's disgusting. Like like Val Kilmer said in The Saint, right? You're going to tell me that Rex Tillerson, who won the best friend of Russia thing, and then ended up working in the as the energy secretary under Trump, that now they're not going, wait, did that guy? Was he sent here by the government a long time ago? Is he? Because that's what we do. Is Rex Tillerson, has he been playing us this whole time? Enriching himself, but also working for the U.S. government. And while he was out in these places, all of our oil areas aren't too far from our nuclear silos. They got to know where they are. All of our satellites stopped working in a month after the fall of the USSR. How do we know they haven't taken over our nuclear system, put in malware, and if we hit launch, they all just fly straight to Moscow? You think you know, but do you? Because nothing has happened to the U.S. system in that time. Hell, nothing like that has happened to the North Korean system that we know of in that time, or Israel, or any other nuclear power, even Pakistan. But Russia went through a 20-year window where there were a lot of people running around and almost no fail-safes. Our biggest problem after the fall of Russia in 91 of the USSR was all these terrorist groups were going to roll into these open silo areas because nobody was guarding them anymore and just gather whatever they wanted. Well, part of that might be true just in sales. They didn't have to roll up with a truck full of guys with guns like a James Bond film. They just had to make a phone call to the Lord of War, and he sold them parts. Really crucial parts that these things don't fly without. Yeah, Tillerson was Secretary of State. Beg your pardon. Thank you. Not Energy Secretary. Yeah. Point being, though, is that a guy who was our Secretary of State had gotten the, Best Buddy of Putin award and was tied in with the oil and gas industry there. Now they can say, we've got our guy. But Tillerson, if you'll recall, used some expletives about Trump, who clearly, joking or not, the modern Pravda in Russia calls our guy. And here's Tillerson, who's seen both sides of the veil, who's talking crap about Trump during the Russia investigation, by the way. This is, and if you're Biden or you're even George W. Bush or Obama, are you that paranoid about this side of it? No. But Putin is increasingly isolated because one of the reasons why he looked like crap for so long, besides the fact that he had surgery, is because he was literally, dude isn't sleeping. If you were, it's this simple. If you were Vladimir Putin, could you take a nap if you needed one? Anywhere?
Probably not.
Nope.
I don't think you can shut your brain off.
Nope. I mean, it's one of the...
Not drugs.
In a lot of ways, it explains... I think it explains in many ways why Trump is awake at all hours and constantly, seemingly, allegedly gacked on Adderall and then benzos just to pass out, which is what... Seemingly allegedly, yes. It makes sense. We're at the top of the hour. We got to take a break. When we come back, Philip Bittner will be joining us, and I get to jump through another technological hoop, getting him in on the conversation.
It's gonna be good.
Oh, it's gonna be good. Wish me some luck. We'll be back right after this.